What up, gamers? I'm Jason.
I'm Julie.
And today on Dice & Dragons, we are going to be previewing Bad Guy Nonsense, a family card game designed by Marc Rienzo and published by St&N. Now I'll toss it over to Julie, who will tell you more about the game itself.
So it's a competitive card game that plays a little bit like Crazy Eights or Uno. Doesn't play the same way, but reminiscent of it, I would say.
It's definitely a family-style card game in that genre, but I think we'd both agree that it's more of a gamer's version. There's a lot more strategy involved, and definitely want to make sure that you make the right moves, as I made some wrong moves, and she kicked my butt. Getting ahead of ourselves, though.
So it's for ages 8 and above and plays in about 20 minutes.
Yes, and what are you doing in Bad Guy Nonsense? Well, if you're like us playing 2 players, you might get it done in 10 minutes. But in the game, you are taking on the role of a bounty hunter that is trying to catch bad guys and a wave of nonsense that was released into the multiverse. And to do that, you must either play some special cards that will give you different abilities that we'll talk about in the components and how to play, or you need to make combinations of lock cards that match the color of the bad guy that you're trying to capture. Now, we are bounty hunters, so I don't think we're friends right now. Are we rivals?
Oh, we're definitely bounty hunters and probably not very friendly.
Yeah, so probably we are rivals, and you must catch the most bad guys, have the highest score at the end of the game in order to be declared the victor in this hunt. Yeah, I'm going to call it a hunt. I think it's thematic.
Victor, the best bounty hunter, whatever you want to call it.
So, what time is it now?
It's time to grab our drinks.
Time to, well, I'm going to glare at my rival instead.
We're going to take it to the table one more time.
Yep, we'll get it back to the table, and then we'll come back with our preview. Let's take a look at the components for Bad Guy Nonsense, a family card game. We'll start with the rules. We get 7 cards to explain the rules of the game. You get the basic structure here, specific details as to how to capture a bad guy, rules about the discarding and special cards. You get some instructions about just each of the different abilities of the special cards as well as the hero cards, some tips as to how to plan your game, as well as how you're going to be scoring it. We also have a checklist so you can study what cards there are in the game. It's important to pay attention to that because as the deck dwindles, you're really going to make sure you have the opportunity to do what you want to do. And if you do not like having the rules on cards, well, go ahead, scan the QR code, and you can get a PDF copy. Now here we've got the bad guys. As you can see, they all have this value in a lock symbol here. Some of them even have clones or twins. Not sure what you want to call them, but there's multiple of the same bad guy. And as you can imagine, these lock cards that we have over here are what's going to be used to capture these bad guys. Now you can do that by playing 1 or 2 cards. The colors are important, and don't worry when we go into our how to play, which we'll be playing quite a few turns open-handed to teach you the game. We'll explain all of that. So these are the lock cards. You can find a list of them on the checklist. Different colors, different values on every card. Well, not all of them, but there's not that many repeats in the deck. Next, we've got the bounty hunters, who I like to say represent the players, because in this game, you are a bounty hunter trying to capture bad guys, and these awesome bounty hunters can capture a bad guy from your hand without having to worry about a specific lock value. We also have these nonsense cards, which clutter up your hand, but at the end of the game, they are worth 1 point if you happen to have them in your hand. So get rid of them early, pick them up later. We then have these cool heroes who are able to defend your captures of bad guys, also block pretty much all of the special abilities. So they're pretty cool, and I do like the art for them. Limelight makes me think of the Reckoners in terms of the name, and I do like Awesome Sauce Alex's art. The purple and the yellow just reminds me of Thanos. And also with that hammer sort of reminds me of Ronan. Maybe it's a mix of both of them. Now here we've got the 4 special cards. So the monster, which eats an opponent's bad guy, so discards them. That's a pain. Bandit, he lets you steal cards from other players' hands. The burglar will let you steal someone else's capture. And the witch lets you go back into the discard pile. So we've taken a look at the components for Bad Guy Nonsense. Now keep it right here as we're going to teach you how to play. Now let's take a look at how you play Bad Guy Nonsense, a family card game. So the setup, you just need to shuffle the deck. Then you're going to deal each player 6 cards. So you get nonsense cards, these lock cards, as well as bad guys. So this is player 1 starting hand. Let's deal players 2s. So we got a bad guy, bounty hunter, lock card, another lock card, another one, and the last card we'll put over here is finally another bad guy. So I'm going to be playing this open-handed, playing for both players. We'll slide their cards down just to give me a space to put any of the cards that we capture. Here's player 1, here's player 2. So it is player 1's turn, and we're taking a look at capturing a bad guy. Now, there are some different ways to do it. We're going to explain how you capture a bad guy. So in this case, it'll be an ape named Manny using the lock symbol. Now, you can either pay 1 card that equals this symbol, and there is 1 blue lock that has a value of 6, or you can play multiple lock cards, and you have to just equal the value. You can only pay 2 of them, but this works. As you can see, we've got the blue 2, 4, 5, 6. So we put this down as one of our captured bad guys. We've now played 3 cards, and at the end of each turn, we draw back up to our maximum amount of cards. So we now draw another 3 cards up into our hand. Now, another option that we may have chosen to do is discard a card. So in that case, for example, I would have discarded a card and drawn another card. There are also special cards that I can play, such as heroes or bandits, and all of those have different abilities. Now, we're not going to get into all of those. We're going to really just teach you how to play the game. So player 1 is done. They've redrawn their hand. So we're going to go over to player 2 and take a look at what we have here. We have the option of capturing Captain Sorbet using the lock, and we also have the bounty hunter. But I want to go through a few rounds to really show the game, maybe even get to some of those special cards. So we're going to play Captain Sorbet with the 2. So as you can see, it's only 1 card. He's now captured. We redraw another 2 cards. So we get Kung Fu Tusks and number 1. So switching back over to player 1, we actually can capture an ape named Manny another way. So we can capture him twice, which is the best way to score points. And you notice I put all of the stuff used to capture them on the bottom so that we can see this value on the top. So if you have a bounty hunter card, you can play the bounty hunter to capture any bad guy card in your hand. In this case, I'm just going to stack it like this. So we've now captured an ape named Manny. We'll draw another 2 cards into our hand. And as you notice, I've drawn a nonsense card. Now, these cards do give you extra points at the end of the game, 1 point per card, but early on in the game, they can really just clutter up your hand. So far, we haven't had the need to discard anything, so they're still there. Now let's take a look at what we've got here. We've got Kung Fu Tusks. So once again, we'll actually go with a 3 and a 1, capturing Kung Fu Tusks. We'll place them over here. We'll try to just keep their lock values visible. I may slide them over, draw up another 2 cards. So here we've got a hero, which is good. We'll be able to show you what their special ability is, as we are now back up to a total of, we got 5 cards. So I must have, oh yeah, it was 3 because I played 2 lock cards. So there we go. We're back up to 6. No errors were made. Now we'll take a look at another way that we can capture bad guys. So if you have 2 of the same card, you can play them both together. Now, they will only count for 1 set of points. They're now captured. We draw back up to our hand size. Now, we're going to go over to player 2. And I'm not going to play the hero yet. Heroes have some different abilities that they can do. But quickly, we'll spend the bounty hunter to capture PJ. So, you know what? Let's slide these guys over just a little bit more. I want to leave a little room here for a discard pile. Sorry, I placed those off camera. So we've got that covered. We'll draw up another 2 cards. Nonsense and trucks. So I'll move over here, and I could discard, well, we'll go through what the discard action is just because. So we'll discard a nonsense card and draw another card, which is perfect because I have now drawn one of the monster cards. Now there is a card in the discard pile. So we're going to go over back to player 2, and we will actually capture trucks. So trucks, 1. Nice, easy capture for us here. And still, I think these guys are kind of sliding off here. Want to keep everything on camera, nice and visible. So you know what? I'm going to move things over because capturing a few more guys than I'd originally planned. There we go. Everything should still be visible. So we'll capture him. Now we have a choice. Because there are cards in the discard pile, there's only one right now. We could draw from the discard pile after we capture a bad guy, or we can draw from the top of the deck. Well, as there's only one card in the discard pile, and it's a nonsense card, don't want it, we'll draw from the top of the deck. Which is pretty cool because we got the Bandit. Now, let's take a look at what happens with the monster, which is the card that I'll play next. So it eats an opponent's card, so what we do is we take their bad guy that they captured, obviously want to take the highest one, and its capture card, and you toss it into the discard pile, making them take negative points. Now I only played 1 card. I do not have an option to draw from the discard pile. Remember, that's only when I capture a bad guy, so I draw up another card. Now, that really wasn't all that nice. There was something that we could have done, actually. You know what? I explained the monster. I drew back up my card, but we don't actually have to have player 2 lose their hero. They could have played, their bad guy, they could have played the hero, and this one is Lollipop Leader, who I believe has been renamed to block monsters, witches, bandits, and burglars. They can also be placed on top of, or we place them like that when I play with Julie, or just you can play them down as an action that is separate. So it's essentially a 4th action if you have them to protect one of the heroes from negative effects. So the monster was played, but we canceled out its effects with a hero, meaning we still have PJ. But notice now we're going into our turn with only 5 cards because we're not able to redraw another card. It's okay, we'll play the Bandit. So the Bandit swipe a random card from your opponent's hand. So we'll just shuffle this up. I'll take a random card. Ended up getting the bad guy. You have a total of 5 cards. So we still redraw another card. And play is going to continue as such, executing the instructions on the special characters, racking up points, and then the player at the end of the game that has the most points, which is a total of all of your locks, and don't forget that a bad guy captured like that only counts as 1. And then you would subtract negative points for any bad guy that's still in your hand. So if this was my final score, I'd have 12, 15, minus 1 for a score of 14. Now, one last thing I'm going to do before Julie and I come at you with our review. Just once again, I want to demonstrate the advantages of, well, not once again, for the first time, I'm going to demonstrate why you want to pull from the discard pile. So for example, on this turn right now, I capture a guy and, I can now draw 2 cards, or up to my hand size, because you notice I only have 3. So I can draw up to my hand size from the discard pile, and wow, did I just get some really cool stuff. So you've seen how to play the game. We've talked about scoring. As you can see, it's fairly straightforward. Now keep it right here as Julie and I will be coming back at you with our review, our preview of Bad Guy Nonsense. So Bad Guy Nonsense, a family card game. What did you think of this game? And I'm going to just jump in because for those of you that do not know how we do our previews, we're going to give our thoughts on the game. We're not going to give a final score. We'll also provide a recommendation as to who we think should be back in this game on Kickstarter.
So it definitely, I think one of the things that caught me is it has, first of all, it's a fast play and it's fast and fun. So I think that in itself is an interesting asset for this game.
Setup time too, just to mention. No time to set up.
I'm surprised Jason hasn't cut me off to say portability. It may not show here because I think he's blown it up. I might be putting my finger through the art right now. But in real life, it's very portable as well.
Yes. This is the type of game that when you're traveling, you can actually play this on an airplane, probably. Might be a little tricky across multiple rows, but...
You can play it on the train for sure.
Definitely train, bus where you've got like 4 seats facing each other. It's not many of those, but there's some of them, mostly in... I
was going to say in Asia, maybe not here.
That's what I was about to say. Not really in North America.
Anyways, the art is nice. I enjoyed the art and I enjoyed the text as well, the flavor text. It made it, it was fun to read what, if you have time. Well, we were playing it pretty fast, but I was reading some of the villains and their special powers and their... I think when we talked about
the villainous things they do, like the sorbet villain that trashes kids' sorbets.
Yeah, there's one of them that, I think that's the one I read as well. In any case, I think to steal your word when we were talking about it, it's irrelevant.
No, not irrelevant. Irreverent.
That's it.
Yes.
Okay, so that's what happens when you try to steal somebody else's word. You can't pull it off.
No, it's a lot of fun. It's very much... What I want to say about the art is if you are a fan of things like Warcraft, because there are definitely some characters that look like orcs, so you do get like that similar sort of style, but there's definitely a little bit of...
don't scare people off.
No, but I'm saying like in terms of the design, but everything is softened out and it definitely looks a lot like painted art, like the kind of thing that you would see hanging up in a gallery. Not saying that it's the kind of prints that you necessarily want on your wall, but some of them, if you do like the style of art, I could see it hanging up, maybe replacing one of the posters we got over there.
I would say, and I think that I'm the one in our duo here that talks for the light gamer or the person who enjoys games but doesn't necessarily have a lot of them. I think this is a very accessible game. I think this is something that even if you're not a hardcore gamer and you don't have hundreds of games, because I think we're in the hundreds now, aren't we?
I think we are, yes. If you're counting all the small ones, we definitely are.
I think this is definitely something it's very accessible and it's for anyone. I don't think this is not a heavy game. This is not the game that you're going to be playing on a game night, but it could definitely be an intro, I think, to a game night. I
would have to agree with that. I mean, this is definitely something that when we've got a couple people coming in, and especially because of the speed of the game it plays, and if you know the game, I'm pretty sure that even with 4 players, you could probably get the play down to about 10 minutes. So easy to set up, easy to play, and it's the kind of thing that it is a family card game. You can play this with mom, dad, kids. You can take this out over Thanksgiving. Yep, grandma as well. Get it out over Thanksgiving, Christmas, birthdays. This is definitely something that all of the members of your family will have played probably something fairly similar to this. They'll be able to grasp it right away. But there is definitely some deep strategy to the game, and that really comes in terms of counting the cards, paying attention to what's been played, and trying to set yourself up for some really nice combos by pulling some cards back out of the discard pile. One of the best scores that I got playing the game was when I was able to pull that off, and Julie was like, "Nice play. Don't like the fact that you're beating me so bad, but you're definitely working the system."
And the same thing with me. I had, on my last play, I beat Jason handily because I got some good cards, but also I was able to set myself up to pick up some good cards from the discard pile a couple of times to be able to help myself out. So that definitely plays into it, and maybe some of the younger players or some of the less experienced players may not do that, but I think that's a little bit mitigated as well when you're playing 4 players. I think it's much more obvious when you're playing 2 players because you're basically playing against each other.
And counting cards. You're essentially trying to count cards. If you're able to count cards, you'll demolish anyone at this game. Not that I'm the only one that can do it, but that's just the reality of it.
So bottom line, I think what we're saying is this is a very accessible game that definitely could be interesting for a lot of different people. it's not something like I think I would, to repeat myself, it's not a big game, it's not a heavy game, it's not how can I say, a gamer's game in the sense that, you know, a very complex game, but it definitely adds.
It has a place on the game shelf.
I was gonna say it has a place on the game shelf, exactly. But it also adds some flavor to, you know, different evenings if you're looking for something quick.
Well, to give you a perfect example is we have some friends that we've introduced to games like Love Letter and Codenames, and while they aren't gamers, I have to say they had so much fun playing those games that we've gifted them Love Letter. Don't think they played it with anyone else, but it was just interesting to think that, well, not to think, but to know that Bad Guy Nonsense falls into that category. This is the kind of game that you can take out I
was going to say, one of the places we played Love Letter, by a lake, on a plastic table, sipping cocktails.
Exactly.
Beers. You know, I can see us doing that again if ever we're out of this pandemic.
So the one thing that Julie did mention, I think we want to just bring up sort of one negative aspect that we found in the game, is that with 2 players, well, it's definitely accessible. I do think that you're missing some of those strategic elements that come into play at maybe a 3 to 4 player count, because there is so much of that like heads up nature where you're paying attention, counting the cards. That being said, it never feels too confrontational, which for those of you that watch the channel know that we don't like playing games where we're really butting heads. It's just that I think we both felt that at a certain point during the game, it was like we were either getting the cards or the action got a little slow in a 2-player environment. And I feel that at 3 to 4, that would probably be mitigated and maybe even get some more options just because you've got that many more cards in people's hands. So the gameplay could even pick up speed. I mean, this is 20 minutes. We played shorter. So yeah, I'm actually kind of reversing my opinion here when I think about it. It might actually be faster at 4 than it is at 2.
I think it depends on how long people take to play. I think we play rather quickly as well. I mean, once you get the hang of it, it's not that hard to play this game, but maybe some people get, you know, the decision paralysis and have trouble deciding what card they're going to play.
So I think we've summed up everything that we wanted to talk about for Bad Guy Nonsense, and our consensus for this game would be it is good for families, good for gamers that have families looking to have something that is more accessible, easy to set up. If you're looking for a fun, portable game that can even be played on a convention floor, I mean, bad guys, superheroes. When we can finally get back to Comic-Cons, this game would go well when you're waiting in line for that big event. And I can't really think of any type of gamer that this doesn't really fit with, unless you are the heavy gamer that wants to sit down and pretty much play for an hour and a half to 2 hours on anything that you play. Otherwise, from the gamer shelf that, you know, is party games and Cards Against Humanity, you want something that's family friendly, well, Bad Guy Nonsense is something that you should check out. Anything you want to add to that?
I think we've been fairly complete.
All right, so what time is it now, Julie?
It's like time to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell to be notified when we have some new content for you.
Also, down below in the video description, you will find links to all of our social media feeds. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can see some pictures of Julie and I playing Bad Guy Nonsense up close. And now popping up in front of us will be links to some of our previously released content. Up in front of me will be our most recent video. And then up in front of Julie will be a link to one of the other card games that we've played and reviewed on the channel. Don't know which one yet. I'm sure we'll find the right one. Now, are we friends again?
I think so.
All right, so we can grab our drinks, grab our best friend. That actually worked out well. It was an even split.
We're going to keep playing games.
I'm going to keep playing games. Definitely want to see how your parents respond to this one. I think it could be a lot of fun. Don't think we'll get my mom to play, though.
No.